Hello, everybody. This is Colleen with Speaking of Spirits, and I'm here with
Harry and Gina.
And today we're going to talk about the Salem witch trials. And we've done another episode. We've done an episode of Salem witch trials, but this one is kind of near and dear to our hearts. Not so much dear, but anyway,
Near.
But near. And Gina, you were talking about it's still going on today. Like witches are
they're people. Well, are they witches or people that are being accused? That's the thing. I was talking about just within the last year. I don't remember if it was this year or within the last year. There was a woman that was burnt alive somewhere in Africa for being accused or convicted of being a witch.
That's awful.
So primarily the witch trials that America knows is the witch trials of Salem, right? And it was February 1692 to May 1693. And 200 people were accused of being a witch, and 30 people were found guilty, 19 people hanged. 14 women, 5 men were put to death. One died because he refused to eat when he was jailed, and the other 5 died in jail. So I don't know what happened to the others.
Well, one wasn't the one. It's like the story of the crucible. He was crushed. They put stones on him until it crushed him. I believe that.
I think that was based on that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I'm reading a book right now on my morbid fascination with death and poisonings and everything else. So anyway, and they think that a lot of the hysteria stemmed from the consumption of a hallucinogenic that, it's ergot, which is a natural hallucinogenic, but is very fatal in very minute doses. But if you take, like, for example, ergots were used, the shaman would ingest ergot, and then, sickening enough, people following the shaman would drink the shaman's urine, because by then it had filtered, so they could get the hallucinogenic effect without the lethal dose. And the shaman had built up enough of a tolerance by doing this so often that they seem to be fine. But ergot can be extremely toxic in very small doses. So,
and that's like a plant that grows.
Yeah. So it's a fungus, I believe. And so, again, when people are out harvesting, it's a fungus, I believe, that grows on wheat and barley.
Oh, I think I heard that, and they thought it got into the supply chain, and that was
and so the girls were primarily responsible for the grinding of the wheat and doing all of this stuff, and so they were ingesting, probably through inhalation, the ergot. So they were hallucinating and speaking in tongues and everything else, and then, so of course they're witches. So you got to remember the time,
right? But there was also a lot back then that used the herbal, but
yes,
and so then anything that was not normal was, at that time, it was, you're a witch.
Well, and another thing is, if you had a situation where there was a husband and wife and they had property and the husband died. Well, if she's a witch and we get rid of her, we can take that property. And that happened a lot with churches and with communities.
It's until almost 1900 that women in Oregon, if their husbands died, they lost their property. Like they had to get remarried right away within so many days, or like their ranch should be gone. So it's craziness. But anyway, so they believe, they being the scholars that have researched the Salem witch trials and the ergot, they believe that was the primary component of what happened was the food supply chain. And it makes sense since wheat and barley you can get this fungus on it, and it's so toxic and such a hallucinogenic properties to it that as soon as you ingest it, but again, the Puritans, we're talking the Puritans, and anything that wasn't pure was witchcraft, and they believed that women were susceptible to, we were the sinners. It goes back to the whole Adam and Eve thing. So we took the apple, and I still like apples. And, so that's the reason why. But like you said, probably over 1 million people worldwide have been
between the thing. There was huge. Actually, I was just in Edinburgh, Scotland in 2018, and they at the Edinburgh Castle have a well it's kind of like a memorial of all the people that were executed being accused of being witches. And they have a fountain and the whole bit right there by the castle. I mean, it's a worldwide thing. And a lot of it was greed. A lot of it was superstition. A lot of it, like you said, maybe a hallucinogen or something that got into the food that people consumed. But I saw a meme on Facebook, and it really kind of fit how I feel. We were taught to fear the witches, but not the people that burned them.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, when you think about justice and pure and holy and, sacred, is it worse really to, know herbal remedies that help, or be the midwife that helps deliver the child, or the widow who inherited her husband's property, than the person who executes people, based on
we were taught to trust only the man that carried the black little bag, medicine, the medical doctor. So if you did anything outside the norm and they were giving people arsenic.
Yeah.
Arsenic was
How about the bloodletting and the leeches?
And the bloodletting and leeches. Well, they're bringing that back, actually, because they believe that's
it.
But I'm saying
the bloodletting or just the leeches?
The leeches. Yeah, because that's a whole nother topic. I'm just saying. But so I lost my train of thought. But I was reading an ad in this morbid book of mine about arsenic, about how we used arsenic in face creams and all kinds of stuff. Because they believed, they believed it was a cure-all, because if you took little doses, that was a cure-all. Arsenic is one of those. It's an element that is extremely fatal. It's so toxic. I mean, we used it in rat poisoning. Come on, that's how toxic it is, right? So, so the doctors are giving everybody like morphine and arsenic and everything else in these cure-all formulas. So we're supposed to trust him and not the woman down the road who's making an herbal tea that will cleanse your liver.
Yeah. Or a poultice, however you say that, like that you put over your lungs, the mustard packs and different things. My twisted conspiracy theory, let me put on my foil hat. When you take away someone's money, whether it's the property or the doctor's fees that he got paid, or the pharmaceutical companies for manufacturing the medicine, when you tap into affecting other people's money, that's where the line gets drawn. And it's like our world isn't what's best for all. Our world is what's best for me. And if you're affecting my income, or you're affecting my power, then that's a problem and you're a witch or you're a crazy person or whatever. I don't know. It's kind of funny, but it's very cynical. But that was, the norm. Like you were saying, people even in Oregon couldn't own property. Females couldn't own property after their husband passed.
It was way past and I don't know the specific year, but it was way past even the wagon train era that women, if they became a widow, their property would either revert to the state or they had to get remarried. Their property was basically taken from them. Their ranch didn't matter how much. So that's why women got remarried instantly, is to retain that property. And it even, it happened in the colonies too. So that wasn't anything new, but there's just been such a stigma against powerful women and women who can heal and
just knew how to process the fruits and vegetables to harvest the seeds out to replant the next year.
Right.
I don't know all the details of it, but somebody was telling me heirloom seeds are illegal. An heirloom seed is you take the seeds out of your tomatoes.
They're not illegal.
They're not illegal?
No, they're not illegal. Because you can buy heirloom varieties now, the seeds.
Okay, because I was going to say they had a thing.
They're big money.
Some documentary or something I was watching, and he was talking about how many plants his heirloom seeds produced versus the packets he bought. And the packets he bought, normally with his heirlooms, if you planted a dozen seeds, 10 grew. Mm-hmm. With the package of seeds you bought at the store, he planted a dozen seeds and 6 grew.
Yeah. So. Well, I mean, there is something to be said. So seeds are typically not viable very long. Just so you know, it's only a couple of years. I actually asked somebody who works in horticulture, and they said, no, seeds. So I harvested a bunch of flower seeds, kept them for a few years, put them out. None of them came up. She goes, yeah, it's too late. Mm-hmm. Next year, put them out the following year. Like,
can't they be stored though?
They lose their potency. Yeah, but anyway, back to the witches. So I don't know. What a friend of mine traced back her lineage to one of the women killed in Salem. And yeah, it was shocking to her. She didn't know that, but I find it amazing that so many people have been hanged, and it wasn't just hanging; they were burned at stake.
They were drowned.
They were drowned. They were crushed. They were tortured beyond belief. They were starved, all in the name of
Christianity.
Well, a lot of it's
misunderstanding. Yeah, Christianity. I mean, put it, but I think a lot of it too is somebody to blame something on.
Yeah. Well, this is an interesting thing that I learned actually from a friend who lives in Salem, who I had no idea. We all know the stereotypical witch. She's green. Her nose is all bent and twisted. Her fingers are all gnarly. The reason that is used as the face of a witch is because they would beat those women until they bruised and would go green. They would break their noses. They would break their knuckles. They would break their bones until they would confess that they were a witch and be executed. So the image of the hag, the gnarled green person, was what the woman would actually look like after they tortured her to the point that they were going to execute her. Oh. And so they would be bringing this horrid green broken
woman
person with her hair ripped out, because they would rip their hair out. They would dunk them in ice cold water. They would do horrible things. And so she is very adamant that she loves the story and the idea of living in Salem, but is extremely offended and will not let people, like post on her page the green witch kind of thing.
Right.
In honor and memory that was, yes, perhaps that's what they looked like when they were executed, but was that what they looked like before? And some of those people that were executed in Salem were people that had disabilities, were people that maybe were crippled, or maybe, who knows, had dementia
or schizophrenia or something.
Yeah. And so that's just one of the weird things that's come down through time, is that image of a witch.
So do you believe witches can cast spells?
What I believe
people ask.
Yeah. What I believe is we can learn to manipulate energy. That's what I do when I do healings. I draw in universal healing energy. Some people call it Reiki. Some people just call it energy healing, but you draw in that universal energy. It's like a laser beam. So we take that energy and we condense it down to the laser beam, and we can cut through steel, and we can do surgeries and all that. With energy healing, you pull that energy in. I pull it in, put it up through my heart. It comes out through my hands and goes out into the person. I can send it anywhere.
So I have a funny story about Gina and her Reiki. So no, I think I had one of my multiple head injuries, and that's what's wrong with me. Something. It was a neck. It hurt bad, and I was sitting in my chair, and I have this little orange cat who's the center of every party. She loves people, but she was across the room, laying on her typical position on our couch, and Gina comes up and she's starting to do Reiki. And so Reiki, if you've never had it, there's not a really physical touch. It's just the energy, the transference of energy, like from here to your arm.
Yeah, some people feel it staticky. Yeah. Like
I feel like heat, like heat, cold, heat. And all of a sudden, Gina's doing, I can start to feel the energy really flowing. And all of a sudden the cat, she's like in between, she's always under Gina's hands. Like no matter where Gina's hands was, this cat sneaking underneath it. She could feel it from across the room.
Yeah.
It really does work. So
energy hog.
Yeah.
But it's especially cats. But dogs do too. But if I go work in someone's home on them, the pets are like,
yeah. Because it feels good. Yeah. It feels amazing. But so, and even though we call it Reiki now, I'm sure that people then probably understood that power of energy transference because maybe they worked on a pet, or maybe they were working on their grandparent or somebody who had an injury, and they realized, wow, I kind of have a touch or a gift for this. And then all of a sudden they're branded as somebody worthy of death.
Yeah.
And they're healing. They're literally healing people. And it's absolutely mind-boggling that people now, like today, 2023, are being killed in Africa and other areas of the world because they are labeled as a witch.
Yeah.
When we have shaman that are accepted, like, why is a Native American shaman revered and a witch not?
One thought would be a lot of them are men. Not all of them, but most shaman are men. I don't know.
And most witches are female.
Not all of them. Kind of depends, but
I think.
I mean, when you think
there is more male,
I
do believe that there's more men coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah. But has anybody kissed a boo boo better on a pet? And they're bawling and they're crying, and you kiss their boo boo and they're better. That's energy transference. That you're putting love and you're putting healing, and so it's funny that something so simple and so beautiful and so helpful can get twisted into something that's
I couldn't remember talking about Facebook News. They were talking about when you make your birthday cake and you put your candle on it.
Yeah.
I can't remember the whole meaning, but it's talking about you make your wish and you blow it out. And that's energy.
Yeah.
Using candle magic.
Well, they're the same people that go,
bless you,
Gesundheit, which is good health. That is conveyance of energy and belief. I believe if I bless you, you're going to get better. If I believe that, those make that wish and blow it out into the universe, then it's going to come through. And it's funny that things get so twisted that people think that's evil or bad, but it's a part of everyone's life. I mean, really and truly, like picking a dandelion and making a wish and blowing, or looking up and making a wish on a shooting star. Right. I mean, it happens all the time, but it's like, I was going to say, I do Reiki and I do just energy healing, but I did a session with a lady last week who is in another state, and I do work. I can do it remotely. And it was so funny. She goes, I was really skeptical, and I thought, what have I got to lose? She's one of the people that I'm doing the milk thistle for. And she's like, I was really skeptical and I thought, what have I got to lose? And when I got done, she was like, I can't even describe to you. What you said to me was exactly what I need. But I'm intuitive. I was born with all of my gifts. And it's like, yeah, it all kind of pulls in together. But the intuitive healing, knowing where the illness is or the imbalance is or whatever, and talking, she's like, she goes, can I have you do this once a week? And I said, you absolutely can.
It's amazing. So I guess people are classified as witches when they do some of this alternative stuff, but I even went to a counselor in town after a particularly traumatic event, and she did polarity healing.
Yes.
Right? On me. And and they do drum circles and they do a lot of spiritual connection to try to get, because a lot of us have trauma that we're trying to process. And if you don't process it, it's going internal. You got to process it. It may take years to actually come out, but you process it in different ways. And you got to figure out a path to get through it. And I think, and it's so unfortunate. And if you read back on any of the Salem witch stuff or how the Puritans acted and the Scarlet Letter, any of this stuff, right? And how they treated women and healers, it's just so, man, can you think about how far along society would be if they hadn't done that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's not just women, but witches. There's nothing, it's an alternative spirituality, and there's nothing wrong with it. And people constantly, they'll either make fun of it or buy
into the
but why is Christianity the only thing that's accepted as a religion? Muslim is accepted, right? Islam is accepted. Judaism is accepted. Why aren't these other spiritualities accepted on the same?
Well, isn't it that just recently military people have been allowed to have a pentagram? And there was a long time that even the Jewish people couldn't get the Star of David on their military headstones and different things like that. It's just, I don't know. Even in the Bible, it says there is something given to help heal any illness that's where the plants are. That's where the medicine, that's where our pharmaceuticals came from.
The Bible talks about the oils, it talks about the herbs, it talks about all that, but you don't learn that when you're going, because I was born and raised Mormon.
I was born and raised Catholic.
You don't learn about that part of any of it when you're growing up in it.
Yeah. There's a lot out there that I think we were never taught. And if you do research, also be wary of who's the author, because not all of that is true either.
All of it's based on the person, their opinion of the author.
Yeah.
Or their experience. And so, everybody has different opinions and different experiences. But the one thing that I've learned in life is if it doesn't set right in your heart and in your soul, it's not right for you. It doesn't mean it's not right for everybody.
Yep.
But it's really sad, the number of people and the misconceptions of any of those things. Like, for example, I was Catholic. My first husband was Muslim. My second husband is Jewish. And people's like, oh my gosh, totally. We can choose to look at all the things that are different about us. We can say, well, she has this and she has that and I have this, so that, or we can look at the things that are the same. And that we can find in anything, in our religions, our beliefs, our life, daily life things, and it's like we can be kind and we can be helpful no matter who we are or who we're helping.
So one of the questions that was asked of me recently was, are there such thing as covens? And are there such things as different ceremonial practices? And do they, for I guess lack of a better term, give you power? And I think, there are covens. There are groups that you can get together with if you're doing these different spiritualities. But think about symbolism. The Catholic Church is huge on symbolism, right? Just the wafer and the wine, the this, the that, the incense, what they do, all of that that was drawn from ancient religions. A lot of that came in from ancient religions, and those customs were ancient. And so before pre-Christianity. So just because there's a group doing a particular symbolism of certain things does not mean that is something to be feared. Symbolism is part of almost every single religion out there.
Well, it's like the Tree of Life. It is part of Kabbalah and Judaism. It is Norse traditions, if you look back into the ancient Vikings and different things like that. And even in a lot of Christian things, you see that tree. It's showing, it symbolizes a lot of different things, but it can show heaven, earth, and hell, or it can show the living, the angels, and the ones who've passed away, like our ancestors. It just depends on how we look at it and what we interpret. And just because my belief says it means this and your belief says it means that, mine's not necessarily right and yours is wrong, or vice versa. It's how we look at it and see it and how we apply it to our life, or let other people apply it to their life.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, all religions are man-made. It doesn't matter. Your connection is your connection, and it doesn't matter pagan, Druid, Wiccan, Native, Mormon, Christian. If you don't have that connection, and that's where the energy healing comes in, which is going back to the Salem witch trials, where some of that, I'm sure when they did the herbal remedies and all of that, it all comes from inside.
And the other thing that people often forget is it's easy to stereotype. Witches are evil and they worship the devil and they do terrible things. Well, guess what? In every religion, pretty much, some of them more than others, the priests have molested and harmed children. The principal of the school or the teacher or the scout leader has done horrible things. Does that mean every priest and every teacher and every scout leader and next door neighbor and Uncle Bob are bad? No. Bad is diverse among everything. Is it the majority of everything? No, it's a small part, but it's so negative. It feels huge and overwhelming. And yeah, I'm sure there probably are bad people. I would be willing to say some of our politicians are pretty bad people and some of our doctors are bad people. I mean, we here in Idaho had a dentist not that long ago that used sedation, and then he played house while he was working on the people's teeth. You know, those are people we're supposed to trust. And there's it's so easy to generalize and easy to stereotype that, oh, if you're this, you're lazy. And if you're that, you're untrustworthy. And if you're this, you're evil. And that isn't the case. We really are doing an injustice to ourselves and the world by lumping everybody together and saying this is all bad and this is all good, when I would say there's probably more people that have been harmed by a trusted person, like a clergy, a teacher, a scout leader, a police officer, than there ever was a bad witch that cursed a spell. You know?
So if you are thinking about any other alternative forms of spirituality, where would you send them? To buy some books and do some reading on different things?
Well, yeah. So, like I said, I was born and raised Mormon. I am no longer Mormon. But I literally in my 20s, because I was always had intuition and stuff like that. And of course, you're not allowed. That's not, the men have the power of the priesthood.
To heal as well, right?
Yes, they are gifted. Yes. So women are, that's not okay. So, but I learned a little bit about probably everything, but then that's when I realized all the religions are all man-made. And that's my biggest thing with anybody I talk to, any of my clients, anything, is your connection to the higher power, whatever it may be, is all that matters. It doesn't matter if you are, like I said, Druid, pagan, Christian, Catholic, Hindu. I mean, it doesn't matter. As long as you are honest with yourself and have that true connection, that's the only thing that matters. And if one thing that I've learned, she might have the same book I have, and we both got something different out of the book.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I get that.
Because I believe it's where our frequency is at the time.
Right.
because I reread a book that I read 20 years ago. Totally different meaning to me now.
Mm-hmm. But where would you send somebody looking for some, maybe not necessarily guidance, but to get some questions answered? Would you just recommend going to different bookstores and picking up books on different stuff? They classify a lot of this as the occult, which bothers me.
Yeah.
Because it's,
well, New Age, metaphysical. I mean, there's so many
but
words.
I'd rather use that than occult.
Right.
Because the occult has such a negative connotation to it.
Religions.
Yeah.
Well, occult. Yeah.
A cult and occult. Different.
A little bit different word there, but yeah.
But no, I don't know. I guess it would depend on, like, are you talking about finding your beliefs?
Well, I don't know. Like, if somebody is interested in finding out more about, I guess it would be witchcraft or spell work or,
there's tons of good books.
Right.
Out there.
So books, I go to bookstores or look it up online. There's a place that I always recommend people go. It's called, as soon as I had a senior moment. It's thriftbooks.com. It's used books that you can buy online for next to nothing. And I have like a huge library downstairs of just about everything from World War I through everything witchcraft, because I can get used books for hardly anything. And and it's a great place to look and research. And
I think the one thing that if you're going to, because nowadays anybody can go and publish a Candle Magic book.
Yeah.
I mean, but there are some, first of all, I would look at find out the history of the author,
mm-hmm.
To see if it was just somebody sitting in a New York office that type this up. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, okay, I wouldn't do that. And whatever you do, I mean, thought is the majority of any spell. Just like when she was the herbs, the intention, counterclockwise, everything has that intention is 90% of what you're doing. Maybe more.
I would also throw in, you have to listen to your heart and your soul. I consider myself a spiritualist. I was raised Catholic, have spent 17 years in a family with a Muslim husband, have been with now a Jewish husband, and there's a lot of differences in things, but there's a lot of similarities. And if something doesn't ring true in your heart and your soul, there were some very specific things of why I walked away from the Catholic religion. But there is more than justice. I believe 100% there is a divine or a creator or a God or whatever you want to call it. It's like a rose by any other name is still a sweet. If we call it something different, doesn't mean it literally is something different. Right. Like Allah. And I can't even think of all the different words for God. The thing is, you have to listen to your heart. And if you read books, that isn't the law. All of this is everything is energy. It's all, yeah. And what one person interprets as this doesn't mean it's this for everybody. You have to let it sit with you. You have to meditate. You have to connect to your divine, connect to your ancestors. People say, I don't know who my ancestors are. Well, your parents are your ancestors and your grandparents. I mean, and so on and so on and so on. To angels, to guides, to guardians, and get in touch with what rings true to you, because we're all on our own path in this life. And my belief is we should bring into the world the things we want in this world. And I try to bring kindness, and I try to bring healing, and I try to bring love and acceptance and just a universal right for everyone to believe and think what they want, as long as they don't harm anyone else by it. And so I do use books for referencing for all different kinds of things, but I'm a hands-on person. So I've worked with several people, like when I did the herbs or different things like that. And it's a little different for everyone. And so, your intention is huge. If you want to be a good person, if you want to do things that are helpful and kind, you want to make this a better world. We can't change the world, but we can sure change where we are. And it has this ripple effect where what I do that's good helps Colleen, and then Colleen does good and it helps, the next and the next and the next. And pretty soon our whole surrounding, there's as much positive going out as there is anything else.
And surround yourself with that.
Yeah. And it's like you resonate. People Carrie and I have a lot of things in common with our energy work, but we don't call it necessarily the same thing. We don't do it. That doesn't mean she's right and I'm wrong, or I'm right and she's wrong, or we're both wrong and someone else is right. You have to, it's like shoes. We all wear the shoes that are comfortable or that fit the thing we need to do. Not everybody's going to wear big work boots. Not everybody's going to wear stilettos. Not everybody's going to wear moccasins. You pick and choose the thing. Yeah.
No.
That would be really bad. I used to wear high heels at one point, and then I fell down a lot of knees. I did it when I was a teenager, and I fell down the stairs a couple times and went, yeah, this is so good for me.
Well, we thank you for joining us on our discussion of witches and spirituality. I think that was a good one. And we look forward to our next one.